Hello everybody! We're here to talk about simplifying your IR Playbook. If you're not sure what that is, well, it's the SIM, and you have an IR Playbook, and now you combine them together. So, my name is Keith Weber. I am a Senior Information Security Engineer for a company here in Knoxville, Cellular Sales. It's just right off of 40. You see the big building, big sign. I've been doing security for about 14, 15 years now. I have a bunch of certifications. That just means I can regurgitate a book. But hopefully today what we're going to draw out of this discussion is how do we take our SIM. Does everybody know what a SIM is before I go on? Okay. Do you have an IR Playbook? How many people have an IR Playbook? Don't be shy. There you go. So now we're just going to talk about those who don't have an IR Playbook. We're going to just basically go over and how we can integrate all the different alerts and different noise that our SIM makes and how we respond to it through and it's not working and cool. Merry Christmas. All right, so that was the talk. Everybody have a good time. The bar is open. So that is true. The bar is open, so you can go use your tickets now. I'm not going to be offended if you get up and go and get a drink. Speaking of which, if anybody wants to get me a drink, that'd be cool. So basically recapping really quick, how you take your SIM, integrate it with your playbook, and how do you do incident response whenever that thing, the SIM, alerts and kicks off. So basically in this discussion, we are going to go over briefly on what a SIM is and how it integrates with our everyday business. And then we're going to talk about the IR Playbook. And David, the speaker before this, did a great job of presenting on what MITRE ATT&CK is and how MITRE ATT&CK can be used in our environment and basically make us better security professionals. So a SIM. It is our brainchild. It is the device that helps us and makes us look good with senior management. So what it basically says is a log management, event correlation analytic, and incident monitoring and security alerts and compliance management and reporting tool. Cool. What does that mean? Well, we take all the events that every single server makes, all those events that a host makes, and then something has got to process and take all that information in and say, this is kind of odd. Maybe somebody should look at that. So there are many flavors or how we got to the SIM, because back in the day, there was actually two components before the SIM came out. The first component, I got to figure out where this mic is right. The first component was the security information management tool. It just basically took all the log data and did analysis of it, and then eventually a second component came about, and it became the system event management. And it did all the correlation, all the noise that we don't want to sift through 1 million logs a day, trying to figure out that this event ID triggered at the wrong time. Then eventually some marketing guy said, why don't we put them together? And now we have the SIM, the SIEM. It has been seen, also SEIM, but that's just wordplay. So there are many flavors of SIMs out there. Some are really expensive, some are really cheap, some are open source, and some have proprietary software associated with their code. Each one has a unique flavor, and some of them even claim that they have the ability to do everything for you. Now this has some pros and cons associated with it, but for the most part, they will do a lot of alerting. And what I can say about the SIM, and you have to tune it. I don't care if a salesperson, your sales manager says, we've got the one solution that's going to solve all your security threats, and this is how it's going to do it. We've got it right here. I don't care. You've got to tune your SIM. Every single time in my 14-year career, I've been on the government side, I've been a consultant, I've been, where I am now, and all the different places I've been doing a security assessment, the SIM is never touched. It has, people think that you can turn it on and it'll do what you want it to do. but you will run into a lot of problems if you are not actively in your SIEM, making sure you have all the correct tools properly configured. So the next topic of discussion is our incident response playbook. This is a kicker. This is the one that can be overly complicated, or it can be very simplistic where it doesn't tell you much of anything. I just recently got back from a forensic conference, and it was a good conference, but it was more geared towards law enforcement than it was security professionals. So when the topic came up in one of the sessions, came up and they were talking about incident response, the gentleman was basing his incident response off of computers, not necessarily law enforcement. So obviously, if you can imagine, the law enforcement incident response policy is massive. And there was a lot of questions, and it was a good conversation. And a lot of these guys didn't have a clue on what exactly happens behind the scenes in a normal corporation. They just know what they know, and there's nothing wrong with that. An incident response policy, or playbook, excuse me, just bringing the gap between chaos and security. If you have, I mean, how many people here like their incident response playbook? Cool, one person, awesome. So this is a challenging discussion, or a challenging topic for a lot of people in our industry, because of the fact that it can be overly complicated. And now, here's another question. In fact, first person to answer a hand, you might get a prize. How many people have printed out their incident response playbook and it's on their desk? Boom! You work at Y12. That's not fair. You have to. That's a rule. Somebody pass that back to them. I don't want to throw it at them. So it's always a good idea to have your IR playbook printed out just in case you get that ransomware attack and you have no clue how to respond. And it's okay if you don't know how to respond. You just have to look like you know what you're doing. I've done that before. I've responded to my first ransomware attack, and I was working for a company down in Chattanooga, and I walked in there and I said, yep, that's a ransomware. Yep, I don't know what to do. So it is important to understand how your different incident response policy, your incident response playbook benefits you. It's important to go through your incident response playbook using tabletop exercises, or even if you want to be really clever and you want to keep your analysts on their toes, you kick off a simulated attack, and that's fun to do. And then you realize how many people on your team look at the incident response playbook. I'm looking at them right now. All right. So how do we, shoot, did I click the right thing? All right. So what if you don't know how to start with your incident response playbook? So we've got the SIEM, we know it takes a lot of data, we know it takes all the logs, it does all the hard work for us, and then you throw in some YAR rules, you throw in some different types of detection, and then now we open the incident response book, we see that a host in one of our stores downloaded malware, and what do? So there's different ways that we can go about creating our incident response playbook. And boy, that is small. I'm standing right next to it. So keep it simple. Your incident response playbook should be able to be understood at the most highest level. And what I mean by that is that theoretically, I'm getting a phone call. Theoretically, your COO or your CIO should be able to walk down, look at your incident response playbook, and then be able to follow through the process. Now, I don't know, what is the likelihood of a COO coming down, looking at your incident response playbook? Probably low. I know where we work, or at Cellular Sales, our senior leadership is actively engaged with the security program. And if you don't have that, I encourage you to have sit-downs and talk with them on a regular basis. Not high-level, not very in-the-weeds conversations, but ask them, what do you expect from this, from the security department? If this happens, what do I do? And that should all be identified, at least in your incident response policy. The other thing is you have to establish roles, okay? So now you have all these different, parts to the incident response playbook. Who's doing what? Do you have an incident commander? Who's handling all the forensics? Who's handling, who's working with the different departments and technologies? All this has to be integrated. I'll stand right here. And then, apparently I can't stand anywhere. And then you have to work with all the different departments, and then you need to kick off your tabletop exercises. Everybody needs to do a tabletop exercises minimum of 2 years. Just because incidents are typically infrequent, but that one time that everybody's on the same page and everybody's working together as one team makes things easier in the long run. So also, yeah, that's pretty much it on that. Now, David, the previous presenter, had a really good talk on the MITRE ATT&CK framework. I'm not going to go into it. I think he did a very good job on trying to break down, and this is a very high-level approach to understanding how your SIM integrates with your IR playbook. And, so we won't go too in deep. But I will just add to that conversation that what David said, this is a tremendous resource. I got to see a presentation from MITRE ATT&CK one time at RSA, and it just opened my eyes, and I've forever included in our incident response playbook the different TTPs, or techniques, tactics, and procedures that is associated with the MITRE ATT&CK. It's in your best interest to at least look at the MITRE ATT&CK framework. See how each different technique can be used in your environment. And then sometimes you can even associate that with if you have a risk register or you have some kind of risk matrix, that can be introduced and made things easy down the road. So this is a fantastic framework to understand. And it's not just for security people. I encourage, if you're on the system side, I encourage you to, are y'all hearing that feedback or is it just me? Okay. Maybe it's this other thing. I'll turn that off. Okay. I encourage all the different departments, including networking, including infrastructure, including your ops team, if you have a support desk, help desk, whatever, I encourage them to go look at it because this will give them different ideas or different perspectives how these different attacks work. Just makes things better for everybody in the long run. All right. Now let's just blend it all together. This is the hard part. I look at my incident response playbook every day, and I still don't know if it's the right one. I still don't know if everything is done the way that it's supposed to in an effective manner. And the only way that I know that we are doing everything correctly is we do have those tabletop exercises. On that point, and at this conference, I learned something new, and I didn't realize that the taxpayers, us, were paying for it, and it's completely free. There is a federal agency called CISA, C-I-S-A. They give pen tests, risk assessments, tabletop exercises, the whole 9 yards, and it's free. And I said, luckily, one of the presenters was the representative for Tennessee, and I had a great conversation with them. They will come on site. They will customize and make they will customize a tabletop exercise. Man, I went country right there. Shoot, my 8 Senior Sleeve's coming out. They will come through and they will create a custom tabletop exercise for you, and then work through you, and also take a look at your incident response policy, tweak it where they think is best. The great thing is they don't report anything. They don't record anything. They are there to help you. I didn't realize this, it was taxpayer funded, but I told my manager, I said, hey, we need to start using their service because it can only make us better. So that's just, I think it's just CISA.gov. And then you can go see who your representative is, and you can email them directly. The guys were terrific. They are government, so they do follow very stringent NIST guidelines, and everything is based on the DoD framework pretty much. Okay, so now how do we blend all this together? How do we make our SIM and our incident response playbook and our MITRE ATT&CK, and we do it, make this beautiful Bob Ross painting? And just a side note, if anybody in here has kids, and if you want your kids to shut up, put Bob Ross on. I'm not kidding. It's on Netflix, and for some reason, that nice, soft, sultry voice will chill kids. It's crazy. So how do we blend it all together? How do we take all those different components and we make this beautiful incident response plan that we can present to our senior management, and they think we're fantastic, and then it's like, wow, we need to pay you more. It's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you that right now. But you can dream. So it's easy. I'm going to go back to what I said a moment ago. Keep it simple. Start working through the different frameworks within the MITRE ATT&CK framework and figure out, okay, now that I have my SIM just alerted and it says John Doe has an irregular time sign in at 2 o'clock. What do I do? Okay, well, if I go to my playbook and I look at that specific technique, and I'm looking for, okay, it says, well, I've got irregular login time, so maybe I need to go check, all the different time parameters, and what time do they log in, or what time is their normal work schedule. Okay, well, that's kind of odd. Now we got to, this John Doe, he normally, on average, he signs in at work around 8:30, but he's never doing it at 3 in the morning. Oh yeah, by the way, he just connected to the VPN. Well, that's strange. John Doe doesn't have a VPN profile. Now my heart rate's racing. Now I've got to figure out, why does John Doe sign in at 3 in the morning on a VPN profile? Now, well, we got to work through it. So there is an actual technique on the MITRE ATT&CK framework that will go through the VPN connections, and it will tell you that this technique is used, and this is what the attributes are on how to go about detecting it. So then you put that into your playbook that you should check this area, this area, this area. Now you go to your SIM, you run your queries that you're looking for, and then, okay, cool. Well, now I know it was an international IP address. Oddly enough, we didn't block Russia on the firewall. And okay, cool. Now we're kicking it off. Now we're quarantining. Now, depending on how within your playbook, do you quarantine? Do you want to leave it open so you can collect more data? Is it possibly insider threat? These are different ideas that you all have to talk amongst your team. And this is where the tabletop exercise comes into and only becomes a benefit for your team. On the tabletop exercises, include your senior management, whether it's your managers or your CISO or your CIO, include them because they have different observations that you may not be aware of. And it only can benefit you if you include them. Now, I wouldn't include them for the full 2-hour session. Just say, hey, can you come in here for 30 minutes and would be cool? Great. Oh, by the way, it's at lunch. I need you to flip lunch bill, please. That'd be great if you can help us out. So we include all these different ideas, these different, components, and we introduce, and we put it into our incident response books, and we make things easier on the analyst or the different infrastructure, your systems person, to pull the information and to quarantine it, and works with your different departments. So the good news is, I didn't realize I talk very fast. So lunch is pretty soon, so the next slide, conclusion. So we can be at the front of the line, yes! Take that other group. I kind of went through fast because this is the third time I've ever spoke, and so this is very nerve-wracking being up here. One thing I can tell you, of all the years that I've been doing this, is take your time. And I know in our industry, time is not something we usually have. Time is just our enemy most of the time. But if you take your time and you build out each technique into your incident response playbook, and then you correlate that playbook with your SIM. So when you get that alert at 2 o'clock in the morning because of John Doe access, not normal, you know that you can turn to that playbook and you can follow through it and you can eliminate a much time, headache, and stress. And I can't stress enough doing tabletop exercises. It only builds all your teams together more tighter. And then also, other departments get to learn what you do. I mean, most security professionals have an idea of what networking does, what system does, what ops does, but a lot of people don't understand what exactly security does. We use Bloodhound at in our department, and Bloodhound can give you huge visibility into different Active Directory permissions and different controls. And we also use other cool tools that the different departments want to use. And that's another issue, another thing I like to bring up. Security professionals, we like to be tight-knit. We like to be closed. We like to keep everything to ourselves. I think, and this is just my opinion, and my opinion only does not reflect the opinion of cellular cells. But the good news is my boss has the same opinion, so I can say it. We need to be more open about our tools. We need to share our tools with other departments. Now, I'm not saying give them admin rights. I'm not saying they can have the right to configure anything. I'm just saying that they need to see what we see. And that only makes us better. We should not be the stopgap that prohibits the company from moving forward. That's just my personal belief. Thank you for listening. But, damn, that was quick. We'll open it now to QA. I have one more thing to give out. I'm not sure what it is. What is it? It's like a backdoor thing?
Backdoors and breaches, sticker, that kind of stuff.
Oh, it's just stickers?
Well, and backdoors and breaches.
Oh, okay, cool. If the sticker's missing, I took it. Kyle, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, so you had mentioned using attack simulations to test and do tabletop exercises. Do you have recommendations on attack simulation tools?
Yeah, so
Repeat the question.
So there's different, what Kyle asked is there, in the incident response tabletop exercises, or you engage in a live demonstration of your SIM, what tools are available out there that can alert you or help you identify or basically test your SIM and make sure that you are configured correctly. So one of the great tools is obviously your brain. Just, putting a Linux machine out there and then putting it with a lot of OSINT, a lot of different tools, GitHub, go to GitHub, and then download anything. So there are some websites. I'm a little, I can't think of the one right now that will actively use benign code and that will drop a payload. I know if you use some software like Proofpoint, you can use benign malware that will distribute email out to our users. And then if they click on it, we'll see if our endpoint protection is working. We'll see if we get an alert notification on our SIEM. And then we will then correlate that to our incident response playbook and to make sure everything works well together. Sorry I don't have the website. There's a cool website that you can download the payload and then just get your one of your laptops and distribute it and see if you can piss off your system. Any other questions? Here, Kyle, did you really want this? Okay. All right, cool. Oh, what's up, brother?
I don't have a question, so I don't want it. But I wanted to espouse a useful tool that I found at some point, and you talked about open sourcing or sharing.
Yeah.
And I recently found just a repository on GitLab that is incident response playbooks, very well built out. So if you just Google like public incident response playbooks.
Did everybody hear that? All right, hold on, let me walk down. That was very well said, so I'm gonna let him talk.
I don't know that I can do it again. We were recently building out our incident response playbook, so I just wanted to give a plug for something that I found that I'm entirely unaffiliated with. But if you just search in Google for like GitLab incident response playbooks public, I think, you'll find a repository that has very well built out workflows for various incidents. So I just wanted to throw that up.
Awesome, thank you. That was cool. Any other questions, or does everybody just want me to shut up so y'all can go get in line? Oh, you get it now. You can't take it back. You raise your hand. I mean, yeah, thanks for putting a short stage. Yeah. All right, together. All right, and what's your question?
So for CISA that you were talking about.
Yeah, sorry.
So for CISA that you were talking about, are the representative names on the sites?
Yep. Yeah, on their website, and you know, I wasn't planning on talking about CISA because I just learned about them the other day. Yes, on their website, they actually have their folks breaking out into regions. So the guy who represents Tennessee also represents Georgia and Florida. And he is based out of Atlanta, Georgia. He said he's very interested in traveling, meeting people now that we've lessened our COVID restrictions. So he enjoys being on site. He has a team, about 6 in his department, and they come. The great thing is travel is paid by the government. All their food expenses, everything is paid. All you have to do is invite them. I mean, I guess they're vampires, so you have to invite them to the door. So, but all right. Any other questions? Oh, hey.
How broad is too broad for your IR playbook?
Oh shoot, man, that's a dangerous question. The question was how broad is it to make your IR playbook? You can make it so complicated with so many moving pieces, with so many different people, that you get into the finger pointing game. My advice when creating your playbook and in your, like, here, y'all about to get show and tell. So this is just a copy of our, does that show up? So I am in the process of redoing this. So this is a copy of our incident response playbook. Please, no flash photography. This is proprietary information, and I will change it. So in the playbook that I designed, I like colors. It makes it easier for everybody to see their responsibilities and jobs. So if there is, I know it's hard to see, but there's a first part to our playbook This is just the beginning. Is this an event or is this an incident? Okay, so there's a separate document that explains the general actions. Okay, and this incident response playbook was designed after the NIST CRF. And they also have the NIST 867 is a great incident response documentation. NIST does a great job. They like to overload you with information. And so I just redid ours here pretty soon. In 2 weeks, we have a tabletop exercises to make sure that we work through any type of malware that occurs, that we are collecting the necessary information. So there is a section here for incident handlers, and there's a section for our infrastructure team. Then we make sure that we're collecting all the necessary information. We have a great EPP tool at Cellular Cells that also does our forensics. So, you know, anybody wants to talk after this, I can help give you some other direction on what I've seen over the years that has helped me. But color coordination to me is fantastic because I know where to go. Then we have an incident commander. This is the incident commander in our incident response policy is the person who is going to be the liaison, talking to senior management, should they be involved, you know, talking to our director to making sure they are on top of what's going on. And so this is just kind of our process. The IS is just information security, IA is infrastructure. And if y'all notice that there's containment. These are all based off the NIST CRS, the eradication processes, the recovery process, the lessons learned process, and stop talking. So that's just kind of, our example, So I hope that answered your question. I know it's very hard to answer that question because it's up to the person who is responsible for that document. Yep, sure.
Do you break it down into the NIST categories for events? Malware, ransomware, things like that?
So
Multiple playbooks for the matter.
So that's a very good question, is which framework do you use? I am in the process of changing ours to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. It is, they do all the research. They are a non-public, nonprofit organization, and this is all they do every day. And they just list it all out. Now, I'm still going to use the NIST CRS, the Cybersecurity Risk Framework, that will help guide that. But yeah. Nope, somebody over here. Nope, cool. All right, no more questions? All right, everybody can go get in line for lunch. Oh, there was, I'm sorry, premature clap, I'm sorry.
With the attack framework, have you utilized that and tying it into like threat model?
Sorry.
With the attack framework, have you utilized tying it into the threat, like threatmodeler.com and building threat models?
Yes, those who don't know, threatmodeling.com is another great resource. To answer your question is, no, I have not, because I haven't figured out how to take all these moving pieces and mesh them together. I haven't Bob Rossed it yet. And I would appreciate that. There's a lot of great information on that website as well. Anything else? Cool. Well, thank you.